Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to What Women Want with Judy Goss and Kristin West, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to What Women Want Talk Radio with over 1 million downloads since we first hit the airwaves. So thank you for joining us for our show tonight. Barefoot, pregnant, and running a business, celebrating some uber successful mompreneurs for a pre-Mother's Day show. I'm broadcasting from New York with my co-host, Kristin West, who is in the studio at LA Talk Radio.
Hi, everybody. What a great show. What a great title.
I know. I'm so excited. And it was so fun to be with you, Kristin, at the studio a few weeks ago, interviewing former editor-in-chief of Cosmopolitan for 15 years, Kate White. And thanks to Armin Nasseri, the videotaping it too, so everyone can see our fabulous new TV show debut to go along with our radio show. I mean, Kristin, you know, we can talk, but we look good too.
I know, right? It was so exciting to get to tape that, especially with such a great guest like Kate. And for those of you who haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, you are missing out. I think we have like 80 videos now or something crazy.
Oh, wow. And yeah, it's all on IMDb. It's very exciting.
Right. So there's two things I want to point out about that, since you brought up IMDb as well. If you go to IMDb and IMDb search What Women Want, there's an episode guide for each season of What Women Want. So you can actually see what the episodes are about before you listen to them. And
that's cool.
It's cool, right? So just click on episode guide on IMDb. And the other thing that's cool about our YouTube channel is that our playlists are sorted by theme. So if you want to work on, say, communication, there's a communication playlist. Or if you want to dive deeper into spirituality, there's a spirituality playlist. So there's so many. You could listen for 5 hours about either of those topics and learn a lot, which is really cool.
Oh my gosh, so organized. We're just like blossoming and expanding, and it's just so exciting, everything that's going on. And you can also find the replays on latalkradio.com's archives, iTunes, Google Play, and of course, all over social media. And we are actively taking sponsors for our show for the next few months. So reach our amazing female demographic. Email us for complete deck through our show website, whatwomenwantradio.com. But wait till after the show. Speaking of TV, I'm so excited, Kristin, that I'm the new host of Behind the Gates, showing on the AWE channel. We were filming this past week in New York City at the most spectacular residences in the city. I saw a $25 million, it's not an apartment, it's a mansion. It was incredible, you know, to show you driving, and, you know, when you see those gates, you always want to see what's behind them. So that's what the show is all about. So it's such a rush for me. I love it. And my background originally, though, comes from high fashion modeling with Ford New York. And after that, I became a magazine editor, which led me to TV hosting and reporting regularly for Better TV, City Buzz, and all the TV networks around the country, both regional and national. And that segued into me becoming now a regular contributor on NBC and Fox. And I founded the company What Women Want Networking, like the radio show, What Women Want, 7 years ago. And we're hosting our second National Women's Conference in Atlanta at the Hyatt Regency, October 19th through the 21st. And we have so many things going on. We have a cutting edge networking live Zoom webinar series going on right now. So you can check it all out at whatwomenwantnetworking.com. I'm also a St. Martin's Press author and the mom of teenage twin girls. Talk about female empowerment. Just being a mom of teenage twin girls gets me right up there with trying to keep up with it all.
I can imagine, and your twins are just so lovely. It was fun meeting them when they came to LA and just seeing their enthusiasm for life and what you were doing. And it was all so very sweet to see them supporting you that way, too.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, I got to get out there. You know, I mean, I love New York, but I want to live with the palm trees and do TV shows with you. You know, we need to bring all the women in the world onto What Women Want and have our show on, you know, YouTube Red or Lifetime TV or something, right?
I think if we can dream it, we can be it. And I'm kind of living my life by that motto right now as well.
Well, you are, and Domain of Horror is your TV show now, and you're doing a lot of stuff. Tell us what's going on.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Domain of Horror. It is a horror fan talk show. We interview the people in front of and behind the camera of some of your favorite horror movies. So I've been doing that for the past, since January, actually. And it just got...
It's amazing how far you've come since then.
Yeah, well, I learned a lot from you, Judy, too. So, you've been a tremendous influence on me, and it just got into the Miami Independent Film Festival monthly web series competition. It is available on my YouTube channel to watch. It's also available on Facebook at Domain of Horror. You can watch it as well. And also, interestingly enough, I just went to the Silicon Beach Film Festival probably 2 weeks ago. And our horror short, The Spirit Room, which I acted in, actually won Best Horror Short. So it's been a fun...
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, it's been a fun few past weeks. I've had a lot of fun.
Yeah, and exhausting, I'm sure. And so Kristin didn't tell you she's an award-winning actress. Soon will be an award-winning TV host, but she's an award-winning actress, producer, and screenwriter. So I'm very proud of my co-host and all the things that she's doing. And... she's not barefoot, pregnant, and running a business, but we'll still take her.
I like being barefoot. But other than that.
You like being barefoot, right? Yeah, I like being barefoot too. I'll let that go right then, having twins and oh my gosh. But I got this title from a combination of what our basically guests do. Barefoot because Liz Bohannon has this incredible shoe company that we're about to hear, a social entrepreneur, which is very interesting. And then pregnant, of course, venture mom and everything that she's doing to support moms and opening businesses. So let's bring on Liz. Liz Bohannon is the founder and CEO of Sseko Designs. I want to spell it because it's a unique way of spelling this. S as in Sally, S-E-K-O. Sseko Designs is an international ethical fashion brand that works to educate and empower women by providing employment and educational opportunities to women and in East Africa, and by using a direct sales model to enable impact entrepreneurs here in the U.S. to start, run, and scale their own impact enterprises. Sseko has been featured in Vogue magazine, Shark Tank, Good Morning America, and other outlets. Liz is the Cartier Women's Initiative Awards finalist, the SXSW Eco-Social Impact Award winner, and Bloomberg Business Week's top social entrepreneur to watch. Liz lives in Portland, Oregon, where she runs Sseko and raises her toddler son. So she's busy. Theo, and with her husband and company co-founder, Ben. Welcome to the show, Liz.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, it's a pleasure. And wow, what a company. I mean, it takes a lot to make me cry at this point in my career. And as far as how many, people I've met along the way in the decades of interviews and everything that I've done in my life. And all I had to do was watch your YouTube, one of your YouTube videos that describe what your company does. And there I was, almost bawling my eyes out. So I'm very impressed with you. Let's start with the beginning. Wow. What's behind the shoes, the barefoot, thing, the East African motivation? Why Uganda? Tell us everything. Tell us where, I love the video that I saw, really kind of taking it back from, well, when I went to college, that's, you do what's expected of you.
Sure. Yeah. And that was definitely the track that I was on. I went to journalism school. I wanted to become a journalist and kind of had this big dream of, being hired by the New York Times to travel across the globe and tell these really important stories. And when I graduated from college and
look at you, you're doing that.
Ever get back to me.
You're doing that just in a different way, right?
It is remarkable in hindsight, almost a decade into building this community and this company, to see how a lot of kind of that original hope manifested in a very, very unexpected way. But my passion for telling really good and important stories and for inviting people into that and giving them a pathway to actually become change makers as well. I'm just not doing it through the formal kind of journalism path that I thought I would. I'm doing it through being an entrepreneur and through enabling other women to do the same. So when I graduated from university, I looked for kind of this dream job, couldn't find it, ended up, like most college grads, taking a good enough job that would pay the bills. And about 3 months into that, I ended up quitting and buying a one-way plane ticket to Uganda. And kind of had this moment
One
where I
way.
was like, man, one way. I didn't know, to say that I didn't have a plan is almost generous. I mean, I literally knew one person in the entire country. I had no plan. I had no job. Certainly no one was inviting me. I had no organization that I was going with. But kind of just decided if I can't find somebody to hire me to do what I want to do, I'm just going to go do it and see what happens. I'm going to show up and I'm just going to try to learn as much as possible about issues that are facing women and girls living in extreme poverty. And
Okay,
that's what I did.
so hold on one second. So did you open a map, close your eyes, and just point to the globe at a spot? Like, why Uganda?
Basically. I mean, I knew one person who was living in Uganda, which was one more person than I knew, in a lot of other countries in the world. And I had studied the conflict that was happening in northern Uganda for a peace and conflict resolution class I had taken in college. So I was by no means an expert. It was one class in undergrad, but had kind of a general sense of familiarity with kind of some of the social, political dynamics in Uganda, this 20-year civil conflict that had been going on, and knew that there were a lot of women and girls who had been a part of that conflict and who had been deeply affected by that, and who in a lot of ways had been used kind of as weapons of war in that conflict. And so I knew that Uganda was a place where if I wanted to learn about how extreme poverty and conflict affect women and girls, that Uganda was a good place to start.
And you said, okay, so a good place to start to give back, to help people, to do what? A good place to what? I mean, a one-way ticket? It's crazy.
To learn. Yeah,
To learn about the world, a different world than what you were living in.
Exactly. And, it was like I had spent the kind of 4 years of college learning on an academic level about some of these issues. And when I was in that first job out of school, I had this real come to Jesus moment where I realized, as much as I say I care about this issue, this kind of huge global issue of women and girls and extreme poverty and conflict and all of this, I didn't know a single woman who had grown up in that environment. I didn't have a single friend. My life, my community, my world was outside of intellectually entirely unaffected by that reality. And that was, once I had that thought and once I kind of had that realization, there was no going back. And I kind of had this moment where I was like, either you need to stop running your mouth and talking about how passionate you are about this issue, or you need to go start building a life that's actually affected and influenced and kind of tied up with these stories in a way that's actually really meaningful. And those are kind of your two options. And I obviously chose the latter.
I'm interested in knowing, obviously you talked about the I guess the culture shock and trying to understand what these women go through. What's a typical day in the life of the women that you work with your business in Uganda?
Yeah. Well, there's the pre-life, the life that kind of a lot of the women that we work with are coming out of, and then there's the lives that they're rebuilding essentially. But I mean, it varies. It's really hard to give a generalization in the same way that your life probably looks really, really different than, a mom of 5 in rural Kentucky. But there are obviously some similarities. Access to education is incredibly difficult for girls in Uganda. There are things starting at a really early age, whether that's in primary school, not having enough money to actually pay school fees. Once they're kind of in the teenage years and they start menstruating, that's a huge issue for a lot of girls in Uganda who don't have access to sanitary means, and so they just stop going to school. And once they miss a certain amount of school, they eventually end up dropping out. For the women that do make it, which is I mean, less than probably 10% of the population that actually even graduate from high school, there's an incredible amount of social pressure to get married, to start having kids. There are things called dowry and or bride price, which is literally the amount of money that someone will pay your family for your hand in marriage. And this is even crazier to me. And when I learned about this, I just remember being so shocked. There are areas of the country where literally for every year of education that a young woman receives, her bride price decreases. So the actual value that she has in society decreases the more educated she is, because the thought is what we want out of our wives and our mothers is not for them to be educated. We want them to have babies and be submissive and, be treated as kind of marital property, which in a lot of ways is very much so built in to that culture. And so there's an incredible amount of pressure that young women face to not continue on their education. And when I was in Uganda, I ended up volunteering for an organization that runs a leadership academy for young women. And they recruit and find the brightest, most academically gifted, most driven women in the entire country. And y'all would be, I just had a group come back last week from Uganda. One of the women has been working as an impact entrepreneur for us for 2 years now. And she told me, she was like, Liz, I thought I got it, but I didn't get it. Now I understand what you're talking about with these women. When you are around them, they are some of the brightest, most passionate, most driven, most persistent, most visionary women in the world that I've ever met. They happen to come from backgrounds of extreme poverty. So you have these incredibly ambitious, bright women who are academically gifted, who have these incredible visions for themselves and their families and their communities and their careers. And yet they were born into this environment that's super patriarchal, into extreme poverty, where there's all kinds of dynamics and things that are keeping them out of the school system and keeping them kind of from pursuing their dreams. And after meeting these young women and kind of hearing about their visions for the future and knowing that they were getting ready to face this 9-month gap between high school and university, and a lot of those young women would move back home to their villages from this 2-year kind of boarding school program and face a lot of this really intense social pressure to not continue their education. That's when, for me, all of a sudden this huge global issue that I never could really wrap my mind around became this incredibly tangible problem. Here's
tell us about the promise that you...
So I went to the school and basically hired 3 young women. I taught them how to make these strappy, funky sandals that I would say designed, but that's honestly kind of generous, that I made out of, leather scraps and rubber and some fabric. And they have a leather base and straps you can tie and style in different ways. And I taught them how to make these sandals. And I said, listen, if you promise to make these sandals for the next 9 months, to stay at the school, to live here, to make sandals, send them to me in the U.S., I promise that you will go to university in the fall. And they were like, okay. And I was like, okay. And we spent several months together making sandals. And I spent several months traveling the country and the region and trying to kind of cobble together somewhat of a stable supply chain. And then I came back home to the U.S. and started selling these sandals out of the back of my car, which is, definitely what your parents want you doing with that master's degree in journalism.
I'd like to ask you, because why did you feel so impassioned that this should be a direct sales company instead of just a traditional charitable effort?
Yeah, well, there's kind of 2 facets. One is the fact that we are a business, and we are unapologetically 100% of our revenue comes from the sale of our product. Since we have been founded, have never taken $1 of charitable donations or philanthropy. And I believe really, really deeply in our model and in our commitment to creating marketplace solutions for these problems that tend to get kind of relegated to the nonprofit sector. I think that business is an incredible tool for creating long-term systemic social change. And there were some really basic things about the issues that these women were facing in Uganda that, to be completely honest, when I first learned about, because, I'm this white, idealistic American in Africa for the first time, I'm thinking, well, shoot, we have poor African women and I want to help them. Surely we have to start a charity. and realizing that it was so much more logical and so much more long-term thinking to think about, we need to create jobs, we need to invest in the local economy, we need to build up industry and infrastructure in the region, and that ultimately is what's going to move the needle long-term. And then on the U.S. side of things, we actually just launched the direct sales portion of our company about 2 years ago. So a little less than 2 years ago. So it's a brand new initiative. And that was honestly born out of, I receive dozens of emails a week from women from all over the country who stumble across the Sseko story. Maybe they buy a pair of, sandals or a leather handbag or whatever it is, and they learn about it and they kind of learn about this journey, and they'll email me and say something to the effect of like, basically, I want to be an impact entrepreneur. They don't even know that that's what they're saying, but they're saying like, I'm working in this job and it doesn't align with my vision, or I'm a stay-at-home mom and I'm feeling really disconnected to, these things that I used to care a lot about. And but the problems are too big and the vision is too big and I just don't know how to start. How did you start? What was the first step? And after years and years of getting these emails, it kind of finally dawned on me that it's like there is a groundswell of women in all different stages of life, whether they're working full time, whether they're, stay-at-home moms, whether they're recent college graduates, who are looking for a way to create an impact, to build community, and to have a sense of purpose. And so my husband and co-founder and I really just started dreaming about, man, could we kind of hijack the retail model side of our business in the same way that we've hijacked the manufacturing side of our business to create community and opportunity for women in East Africa, to create community and economic opportunity for women here in the U.S. By putting our brand and our product and our story into the hands of impact entrepreneurs here in the U.S. who will go out and share the story and style their friends and provide incredible customer service and these really memorable shopping experiences for people in their community. And we came back with the answer of like, yeah, we think we can do that. And so we actually shut down our entire wholesale channel, which we had probably 500 stores that were carrying the product. It was about 70% of our revenue at the time.
You shut down your whole wholesale channel? Oh,
we did.
Gosh.
We ran like a secret pilot program with 30 women from around the country. And we're like, okay, we're going to give this a chance. We're going to put the product in their hands. We had no systems. We had nothing, literally. We just sent the product to women and put together a basic compensation structure and said, see what you can do with this. And when the pilot program ended, we felt confident enough that women were connected. They were doing a way better job of selling the product than these stores were, because they were connecting with people in their community. They were so passionate about the mission, about the women in Uganda that they were connected to. They were also incredibly passionate about the product and really motivated to help educate their customers, to earn products, to earn an income. We're talking about 30 women here in the U.S. that have their own dreams and visions for, I want to retire my husband, or I want to put my kid in ballet class, or
they want to retire their husband.
We have women that have already done it, whose husbands have been able to quit jobs that they hate because their wives are now building these impact businesses that are generating enough income for their family that they're able to make these incredibly exciting lifestyle changes. And so Liz, we decided that we were going to put all of our eggs in that basket.
So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we're quickly running out of time. Your story is so fascinating. I'm just sitting here, listening and thinking to myself, wow, why can't everyone do this? I mean, everyone can make an impact with their business, whether it's directly or indirectly too, But, and I really wanted to get to the chicken coop story. And but like I said, we're running out of time. But I have to ask you, did you really try to open a chicken farm or something? What?
I did. After I discovered this issue of this kind of 9-month gap, I was honestly just grasping for straws. I had mentioned that my first idea was to start a charity, and then became very convinced that we needed to create a business. And my next business idea, or my first business idea rather, was to start a chicken farm. It seemed obvious to me, lots of chickens, people love chickens. I saw other people doing it. So I started a chicken farm that failed pretty quickly. And then, of course, the natural next step after kind of having a stint as a chicken farmer is to become a footwear designer and run a manufacturing company. And that was the second idea.
Don't quit your daydream. That's one of your quotes. And like I said, we are running out of time, but I just want to urge people to go, to your site and check it out, because it's truly unbelievable what you've built and what you're offering and how you're empowering women globally. It's really admirable. So yeah, no, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for the conversation and for giving me the chance to share the story. It's been quite the journey.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. And you can come back anytime. Like I said, you go on your website and it's just a combination of the merchandise that you're selling and the story behind it. And it's really, it's quite impressive. So it's SsekoDesigns.com. What's your website?
Correct. SSEKO Designs.com.
What does Sseko mean? Is that
Nseko is actually the Ugandan word for laughter, which is where the company name comes from.
I knew there was some kind of meaning behind that SSEKO. Yeah. All right, Liz. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. We so appreciate you telling your story. And like I said, you have to tell the rest. We didn't even get to what it's really like to run a 7-figure business while pregnant. So I'd
love to come back anytime.
Yeah, I'm into all of those tips as well. And I have someone else on the line, Holly Hurd, who has some great tips. Oh my gosh, she wrote an incredible book too. Kristin, you want to bring her on?
Yes, Holly Hurd is the founder of Venture Mom, a platform devoted to helping women entrepreneurs grow their businesses. Her newsletter, blog, and e-commerce marketplace showcases products and services from women from all over the country. In her online marketplace, Holly curates the best, the coolest, and the most luxurious things for the discriminating shopper, and all from women-owned businesses. Welcome to the show, Holly.
Well, I have to say, I've been looking at Sseko Designs, and I'm blown away by Liz's story, and her things are so beautiful. I would love to profile her in my newsletter and get her things in the marketplace.
I totally agree with that. I saw some of those purses, and I just
Is
wanted
she still on the line?
Liz, are you still?
I am. I'm still here. I didn't know if I was supposed to jump in or not.
You're not really supposed to, but I looked and I just thought, oh my gosh, she didn't hang up. Well, Holly, yeah, Liz, you guys should connect after the show. I love this. I love making connections like this. It's so fabulous.
Holly, let's definitely connect. Let's absolutely
connect. I would
I'm
love
excited
that.
to learn about what you're doing as well.
Literally blown away by how you're empowering the women of Uganda. My mission is a little more local, but I believe that entrepreneurship provides economic freedom to women everywhere. And that's really my mission, is to show everyone how easy it is to be an entrepreneur.
Holly, I
Amen. Well, we have a lot to connect on because we believe very deeply in the power of entrepreneurship as well. So excited to connect.
Great.
It's
okay, Liz, we're going to connect you after the show. Holly, we want to hear your story.
My story. Well, I come from finance. I ran a hedge fund, and I had 3 children, and I love motivational books, and I decided to write my own. And when I looked around my world, the women who were motivated were women who had kids who had started their own business. So I started to interview them, and I called them venture moms. They were moms of ventures. Their businesses were their babies, and in addition to their actual children. And so about this time, blogging was coming into vogue, so I decided I would share these stories on a blog rather than wait to get a book published. And I sent out my first blog, and the response was amazing. People are like, oh, my gosh, you have to talk to my sister, my cousin, my neighbor. They all have their own business and would love to tell you their story.
Now, you evolved this from just being a blog. You actually have women moms who are creating products and offering services on your website now. Is that correct?
Yeah. So what I found was I was doing the blog, and so let's say I was profiling a woman with handbags, or I was talking about a woman who her service was walking dogs or getting young children to sleep through the night, or helping you reorganize your garage or your kitchen. And people would write me and say, oh my gosh, I love that story, the necklace that woman has, or that beautiful clutch that she had. I want that. How do I get that? And so I saw an opportunity in that I could set up these women in my marketplace, and so my followers could buy their items right from the marketplace and their services too. So that was the genesis of the marketplace.
I love that idea of having a marketplace where it's curated, where it's focused on a particular type of entrepreneur, and it really helps you to shop your values, which I think is something that every person out there right now is trying to do a little bit more of. So I applaud you for that. Now, you, like you said, you had the blog. You talked to probably hundreds of women entrepreneurs and mompreneurs. What do you think the biggest challenge is for the mompreneurs out there?
For venture moms, I think the biggest challenge is getting over the fear factor. That's such a commonality. People think, oh, I can't do that, or I'm not sure how I would do that, or what if I fail, or I'm going to put myself out there and people will, say, what the heck is she doing? Which I felt when I started my blog, who's going to read this? But what I try to do with Venture Mom is to teach other women through the stories of women who are doing it. So, for example, a woman in Boston, I profiled her. She wanted a manners class for her children, and it didn't exist in Boston. So she said, well, wow, I must not be the only woman that wants a manners class for my children. So she started one. So the idea for me is that if I profile the woman in Boston and explain how she came up with the idea, how she came up with her name. I love names, and she called it the common courtesy, and how she runs her business, where she gets her clients, or, does she do it after school? So if the woman in Iowa or LA or Atlanta reads my story about her business, she may look around her community and say, you know what? We don't have a manners class here either. I'm going to start that business, and I'm going to follow her venture path. However, do it in my own way. I'll have my own name. I'll have my own course. But here's an idea that would work for me to create my own economic freedom.
What do you think successful mompreneurs have in common?
I call them venture moms, but
the
venture moms are very passionate about what they do. What I find, most of the venture moms that I talk to, they literally fall into their venture. So maybe they're making this belt buckle because they couldn't find one that they like, and they make one for themselves, and their friends say, that is the coolest belt buckle, will you make me one? So they make her one, and then this is one of my Nancy Zylstra belts. And so she started making her friends the belt buckles, and she took them to a local store and said, what do you think of these? And the woman goes, get your order pad out. I'd like to order 12 right now. She goes, oh my gosh, I guess I'm starting a business. So I think the commonality is it's usually something they're creating for themselves, something they're really good at, something they really enjoy.
I think you bring up a very interesting point that a lot of people have also brought up over the years, and we've actually addressed on the show, Judy, is that a lot of times some of our best ideas come out of not only a passion, but a problem-solving orientation, that we have a problem or something that we don't see in our community or something that we need that we have to create for ourselves. I remember It Bands for Knees. Remember Stasia?
Oh my gosh, yes. She was so great. It was Stasia. What was her name? Stasia? I think it was Stasia.
Stasia Pache, I believe. If you're listening, Stasia, we're sorry for butchering your name, but we really like It Bands for Knees.
Exactly. Kelly McNellis's friend.
That's right.
One of Kelly McNellis's friend. Yep. Well, yeah. So anyway, tell them what the It Bands is.
Oh, okay.
The It Bands, it's a support for knees that is a little bit more fashionable than your traditional knee brace or knee wrap, and that's what I remember from her. But Holly,
it works very well.
It works very well, yes. Holly, I wanted to ask you, what's more challenging, caring for a newborn or nurturing a new business?
You know what? They each have their own reward. They each have their own reward. But, it's so funny you say, the inventions that people and the businesses people create around a need. So, for example, one of my venture moms she reinvented shower caps. So her daughter would come home and shower at night and then go to bed with wet hair. And the shower caps she was getting at the drugstore just weren't holding up. The hair still got wet. So
Kristin, there's your problem solution.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So she created a beautiful, stylish shower cap that will last a long, long time. It's very comfortable. It has a wide elastic band, and it works on really long, high hair. So even for adults, if you've just had your hair done and you want your blowout to last more than one day, she's got these beautiful shower caps. Another mom, she couldn't find the dorm room bedding for her daughter going to boarding school in the longer sizes. The quality just wasn't there. So two women named Lee created Lee Do bedding for dorm room sizes in really pretty high quality fabric.
Okay, but it's not as easy as it sounds, as you know, with kids and, trying to start and or run a business. And you wrote this book, From Idea to Income in 12 Weeks. Realistically, and Kristin was asking, what's harder, to run a business or raise kids? What is your advice about balancing the two? If someone out there with young kids wants to start a business, I mean, you're exhausted and they already have another job and they have an idea and, most of us don't even start, right?
Well, so first of all, you have to compartmentalize. So when you're working on your business, and I have this thing called the 5-10-15 plan. So first you're going to start with a 1-5-10 plan. You start with 1 hour a week on your business, right? 1 hour a week. And during that hour, you can't answer emails, you can't change the laundry, you can't feed the dog, you can't, go get the mail. Just focus on your business. So if you have to get a sitter, or maybe it's when your child is napping, that time is for just your business. And I also say, when you're with your kids, be with your kids. I used to say, when my kids were, younger, in grade school, between 4 and 8, that time was my children's, because that's, school pickup, homework, dinner, bath, everything. So I wouldn't work during that time. That was my time for my kids. So compartmentalizing is a huge part of starting and running a business. Goal setting and having lists is the other one. Because if you've got that hour and you've taken the time to say, let's say you're going to start a photography business, taking pictures of young families, and you want to, so that first hour, you're going to come up with a name. You're going to research what other people are charging. You're going to price it. And what I've done in the book is given you a week for each task, so that by the end of the 12th week, you're getting your first paycheck. And a week is pretty generous, because you could start a photography business in one afternoon by sending an email to all of your friends and family and say, I'm going to do photo shoots. Here's what I charge, and here's how you reach me. I'd like you to be a little bit more organized, so I give you a week to come up with your name, a week to brand yourself, a week to send out an email to your friends and family. But you're in business in no time.
Right, and then you get their testimonials and you keep building. Now, this sounds like, Kristin, I think we could probably take that advice with or without kids. I mean, people, it doesn't matter if you have kids or not. If you're in your own business, and you certainly are, and you have multiple, you're multifaceted, it's tough to know when to slow down, right, Kristin? To know when to kind of take a break. I feel like, especially since we're in the entertainment business, sometimes I feel like I don't want to miss anything. I'm always worried that the next rock we turn over is going to be that big thing, right?
Totally. I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm in an episode of Keeping Up with Kristin and Judy. I mean, seriously, Kim Kardashian doesn't have much on me, let me tell you. But seriously, it's interesting, and I'm glad you brought up that point, Judy. You don't necessarily have to have children to have that need to compartmentalize your time, because you also have to nurture you and what's going on inside of you, and take care of your own life, and really find that work-life balance. Because if you're constantly doing and doing and doing and doing and doing and giving your all towards a business, sometimes you run the risk of burnout. And I know we talk about burnout a lot when we're discussing various facets of running a business. And
well, I would say that compartmentalize time for yourself. You need to exercise. You have to have family time. You have to have partner or spouse time. So that's a lot of time getting carved up. But I think women are very good at achieving. When they set a goal, they're going to achieve it. And when you run your own business, it is 24/7, and you want to get to the next thing and do the next thing. But if you allow yourself to get so burnt out and not have the other facets in your life, you won't succeed. You need to have balance.
Do you think moms have special superpowers over other business owners? Do you think moms have something special that they offer being a business owner, as opposed to more I don't want to say more traditional business owners, but what we would think of as a business owner, older male, You know
what? I think if you're a mom, you know how to multitask. And you know how to focus. And when your kids, you've got, young children at your legs all day long, you can manage them, you can get them their food, you can push a stroller, you can walk a dog, and talk to the pediatrician all at the same time. We're masters at getting things done and solving problems. Because when you're raising children, you're every hour you have a new issue or challenge that you have to address. And it could be something as simple as changing a diaper. I have one woman, she would take her kids to the beach, and she had a young daughter, and changing a one-piece bathing suit on a toddler that's wet is very difficult. So she said to herself, why doesn't someone make a one-piece bathing suit with snaps at the crotch so I can just open it up, change the diaper, and snap them back without trying to get a whole wet bathing suit off to change a diaper? So she came up with a business called Snapping Turtle Kids, which is swimwear for children, so it unsnaps, so it makes changing a diaper easier.
And I bet a lot of moms are thanking her right now for that. See, and those are those little painful, stupid problems that can make people a boatload of money. So let me ask you, how do you find the businesses that come onto your Venture Mom marketplace? What are you looking for in a business to put on your marketplace?
Yeah, I was wondering that too.
Well, it's luxury goods and services. So, I'm looking for quality and something really cool. I went to a charity function today that had multiple vendors, and there were so many great ideas there. One woman does beach bags and hats. So, with sunscreen and sun protection being so important, she does these beautiful straw hats that you can wear when you're out in the sun, and beach bags. That's her whole theme. She's got a label. The quality is great. They're really interesting, and they're going to hold up. Another woman she makes beautiful cover-ups. And,
I know, but how do you choose? I mean, I understand there's endless, companies out there with incredible innovations. How do you pick and choose? Is there anything you have, like a general base rule, or I don't know, something that intuition
things that I would like, things that my friends would like. I think, quality is the biggest factor, and someone who's really passionate about what they're doing. You can tell, like there was a stationery woman there today, and her stationery is absolutely beautiful, handcrafted, drawn, personally drawn logos and things, and monogrammed. it's sort of, it is a luxury lifestyle line. So
you have to stay true to your brand.
The products, pardon me?
You have to stay true to your brand, but it's probably the first rule.
Well, I do. So it's as if you're going, I'm the boutique that never closes. So it's the luxury goods boutique, but I'm always open.
Did you hear that?
I'm online. So,
did you hear that, Fred Siegel? You got some competition over here from Venture Mom.
Exactly.
So how do you want to expand this business? Let's talk about you a little bit, because you've got venturemom.com. How do you want this business to grow? It seems like you've got a lot of great products and great services you're offering.
Well, I just launched the marketplace this year. So I am looking for vendors, and there's an application process. So you apply, and I look at your goods or your service and hear your story. And then if you're accepted, we'd love to have you in the marketplace. I want to take Venture Mom nationwide. So I'm pretty popular here in Fairfield County in Connecticut, and I have a lot of great brands that sell locally and nationally. But I'm looking to hear from Venture Moms in Chicago and Iowa and LA and Atlanta and Boston, everywhere, because women-owned businesses are the fastest growing segment of entrepreneurs. There are more than 10 million women-owned businesses in the country, and we generate $1.4 trillion in income from those businesses. And everything is going online. So I'm looking to bring all of those women-owned businesses online and provide those goods and services to everyone around the country.
So what minimally does a woman-owned business need to be ready for a premier e-tailer like you? What should they already have in place?
Well, they should be able to deliver. So we hope that they have, for example, Sseko would be a fantastic example. If I put their tassel clutch in black, it's a good price point. Most of the prices range from $50.
Holly, are you
$50
shopping while you were on our show?
She totally is. She totally is. Just confess.
Yeah,
totally busted.
Back. But it's so cute. I mean, and I know my audience would love it. I would wear this bag all the time. And also, it's interesting. The social aspect is really, become in vogue lately. And a lot of my venture moms do have a social component, whether they're giving a % back, or I have one venture mom. She does high-end decorator pillows. But for each pillow she sells, she gives a pillow back. And actually, Uganda, when you go into the hospital, you have to bring your own pillow. So she has funded a group there that sews pillows right next to the hospital and then sells them to people going into the hospital because you have to bring your own. So the social aspect, just like what Liz is doing, has become so prevalent, and people are very cognizant of that, wanting to give back. And I think that is much more meaningful when you're shopping.
So
people today want to know who they're supporting.
So it's venturemom.com, is that the website?
Venturemom.com. So I have a weekly newsletter. I profile a different mom each week, and I have lots of venture moms that want to be profiled, and there's so many interesting stories that I love interviewing these women and hearing their story and sharing them. And then we put them in the marketplace so you can see. I curate from their collection, and then and also what I found is sometimes venture moms getting a website up and running and a shopping cart can be very difficult.
Oh, I know.
I'm offering them a shopping cart in 15 minutes.
That's crazy. Well, you know what, Holly, I really love this. I love the miracle of the 15-minute shopping cart. I can tell you so many entrepreneurial women struggle with this, and I know we have to wrap it up, and I know our listeners want to learn more. How can they find you besides your website? Are you on Facebook? Are you on Twitter?
I am on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I have a YouTube channel. I love speaking about empowering women through entrepreneurship, and I would love to hear from your listeners.
And they're going to love to learn more from Holly about the Venture Mom Marketplace. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Holly.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you, Holly. And next week, we're getting healthy with the author of Hype, How to Tell Medical Myths, Bad Advice. This is going to be an interesting show. Dr. Nina Shapiro and Alexa Carlin, the founder of Women Empower Expo. Another inspiring show for sure. So remember, subscribe to us on YouTube. Don't miss one show, and go to whatwomenwantradio.com for more information. And we'll see you next week. Good night.
You're listening to What Women Want with Judy Goss and Kristin West, only on LA Talk Radio.